No? Hi. Oh, pant dokta.
Ekamaksharam Hrudi Nirantaram Bhasate Swayam Likyate Hridaya Kuhara Madhye Kevalam Brahmaniti Sakshat Atmarupena Bhakti Hridi Vishamanasa Swami Chingvata Jata Anuchalanuru Atmanishto Deham Brahmayavat Jadatmakam Aham Buddhirnatasyastyato Aham Tattata Bhavashukti Samay Siddhatma Saddha Oham Bhavayata Uto Parantiya Drishtatmanishtatmano Soham Sputitaya Arunachala Shivaha Guru Vibhava Soham Sputitaya Arunachala Shivaha Guru Vibhava Swayam. Namo Ramana. With Bhagavan's immense grace, we have been meditating on the verses of Anma bodham, the Tamil translation of Atma bodha. Atma bodha, of course, is by Adi Shankara, and the translation is by Bhagavan Shri Ramana Maharshi. We have come to this portion where the Jnana Anubhava is being explained. Though it is considered unexplainable, though it is considered beyond expression, it is explained in the Vedantic texts. Once a Muni, an old person, comes to Bhagavan and he asks Bhagavan. It is said that the Atman, the Brahman, is beyond expression. Then why do we explain or express the Anubhava, the Jnana Sthiti? Why do we explain? Then Bhagavan gives the reply, though it is beyond expression, the Jnani, the Anubhavi, points to it in the language known to the Abhyasi. The Anubhavi cannot use the Mauna all the time because it is a language not understood by many Abhyasis. So, Bhagavan says, out of compassion, Adi Shankara wrote the Dakshinamurti Stotram, which he had taught in Maunam. Out of compassion for the Abhyasis, he had written it in the Stotram form, Dakshinamurti Stotram. Similarly, this Anubhava Sthiti is being delineated, and we find ourselves how the Jnani, he aggregates all the seen objective world as the Atma Swarupa. Ondrum. How that process takes place? When Bhagavan says, turn inward, we can get a feel of how the subtle is more vaster than the gross. For instance, let us take the senses and the breath. Between the senses and the breath, even when the senses are not engaged, you can observe the breath. Even after the senses are stopped, you can still observe the breath. Even when senses are functioning, it could be karmendriyas, it could be jnanendriyas. The 5 karmendriyas or 5 jnanendriyas, for them to operate, let us say that the prana is required. The pranamaya kosha is required. So that means the pranamaya kosha is of a subtler dimension. It pre-exists the indriyas and the indriya jagat, the sensory world. It has to subsist during the existence of the indriyas and the indriya jagat. And it can subsist even after the indriyas and indriya jagat become non-active. Similarly, between mind and prana. With the mind, you can know the nature of prana, you can do yama, the control of prana, you can do, because the mind is subtler than prana. That's why Bhagavan says, turn inward. Turn inward means the gross sensory world and senses are present in prana. The prana loka and the pranas are present in the manas. So when the mind is turned inward, you have actually reversed the entire creation and taken the stula into the sukshma. The sukshma being vaster. Similarly, the relationship between buddhi and manas. Buddhi is more wider. In the buddhi, it is said that we have the ahankara, the vijnanamaya kosha, we have the ahankara, the buddhi, and the jnanendriyas also. The karmendriyas are said to reside in the prana, pranamaya kosha, whereas the jnanendriyas are said to reside in the vijnanamaya kosha. That is why you can do sadhana, you can do samadhi sthiti while still in touch with the sensory world. When you go to the jnanendriyas, that is merely observation without expectation. or hearing without judgment, when we do that, what happens? We can cross the senses, we can cross the breath, we can cross the manas also. That is how the mindfulness meditation is laid out. And the Sakshi Bhava meditation in Vedanta is also laid out in the same way, because Jnanendriyas lie in the Vijnanamaya Kosha. But Bhagavan teaches us to go directly to the ego and take it beyond the Anandamaya Kosha, where all the vasanas lie. What is this Anandamaya Kosha, in which the four other koshas, the Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, and Vijnanamaya Kosha, they are all lying dormant, like bucket having sunk into a well of water in deep sleep. What is that deep sleep? Because we are used to the triad, the seer, seeing, seen, knower, knowing, known, and that is the experience of the Ahankara Jiva, that it can experience only the seer, seeing, seen, knower, knowing, known, and feel strongly that there is something to be expected from the known and the seen. Whereas these triads and the four koshas, they become dormant in deep sleep, in the Anandamaya Kosha. What is this Anandamaya Kosha? The Anandamaya Kosha is the Spurana, which the triad-based Jiva is not able to experience because it is outward turned. The Spurana, it is not able to experience. That not knowing the Spurana is the Ajnana or Maya. The not knowing the consciousness that is shining by itself. The Akanda Akara Atma Vritti, not knowing that and jumping into the triads, that is the Ajnana. And all the vasanas, all the darknesses which create the whole koshas and the worlds, they all lie in that Ajnana. The Ajnana is not knowing the self-luminous self. The moment you go beyond that, then you are made to rotate between the three states of waking, dream, and deep sleep again and again, till we understand that this will end only when the ego is destroyed and the seer seen Veda is completely annihilated in the self. So, how does the jnani come to the jnana? He makes all the objective experiences and the objective knowledge as undrum ulattul. The mind being turned inward, all of them are absorbed in the I, and the I is taken to its source. So simultaneously in the Akandakara Vritti, the jnani, we can say, is constantly experiencing that God is running everything. That God, knowing God is knowing everything. And being one with God is being the self, which is everything. These three, the omnipotence, the omniscience, and omnipresence, are directly experienced by the jnani. It doesn't need to meditate anymore. The meditation action, the karma, mula karma, which is said to replace all other karmas, that karma is also at an end when one is naturally experiencing the self-luminous self. So this is the journey in the verses 47, 48, 49 that we have seen, that the jnani makes all the objects, objective knowledge, one in the self, and that self is the kosha rahita sthiti. All the five koshas are now completely absorbed in the self-luminous self. Once Ramaswamy Iyer, Manavasi Ramaswamy Iyer, I think, he gets a shirt for Bhagavan in his Jayanti. Bhagavan's Jayanti, as we know, will be sometime in December or January, and he gets a shirt, if I am not wrong, and says, Bhagavan, it is quite cold, and I have got you this shirt for Jayanti. Must be one of those early Jayanti celebrations, 1911, 1912. Then Bhagavan says, I am already wearing 5 coats. Why do I need one more coat or shirt? He is referring to the Atma being covered by or veiled by the 5 sheets. Now we come to the verse where the Jnani's abidance in the self is compared with the Adhyatma Ramayana. The whole story of Ramayana, the whole legend, and the esoteric meaning, the Adhyatmic meaning of Ramayana is pointed out by Adi Shankara in the 50th verse. We had alluded to that towards the end of the last discussions that we had. Let us go to the 50th verse. மோகக்கடல் கடந்து மூளாசை கோபமுதல் ஆகும் அரக்கர் அறக்கொன்று யோகி அமைதியொடு கூடி ஆன்மாவின் இன்பத் அமைந்தொளிர்வன் என்றே அறி. மோகக்கடல் கடந்து மூளாசை கோபம் முதல் ஆகும் அரக்கர் அறக்கொன்று யோகி அமைதியொடு கூடி ஆன்மாவின் இன்பத்து அமைந்தொளிர்வன் என்றே அறி. How the commentators conclude that this verse has reference to Ramayana is that in the Sanskrit verse, Tattva Moharnavam Tirtva Moharnavam Hatva Raga Dveshadi Rakshasan Yogi Shanti Samayukta Atma Rama Virajate. The words that are pointers to Ramayana are Arnavam and Rakshasan and Atma Ramo. These are the indicative words which makes one infer that this verse is alluding to the legend, the story, the Adhyatmic importance of Ramayana. Moharnavam, Moha Kadal Kadand, Moolasai Kobam Mudal. What is the journey the Jnani has made? The Raga Dvesha is referred to as Moha Kadal. Both the attachment and aversion are referred to as Moha Kadal, which separates the Jiva from the Atma. And that is the Kadal that Rama and forces also cross, isn't it? And in the journey inward, Moha. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕೀ ಇದೆ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ. மோகக்கடல் கடந்து மூளாசை கோபம் முதல். How is that மோகக்கடல் is crossed? It is crossed holding the Atma Dhyana, the Nididhyasana, all the Raga and Dvesha, which are a combination of breath, mind and buddhi. How the heaven and hell are constructed. We don't need to go somewhere, leaving this body, to see what is heaven and hell. As is indicated by science, outside of us is the three-dimensional world, where the length, breadth and height are there. If you want to seek the higher dimensions, you have to go inside, you have to turn inward. That is where the higher dimensions are to be sought. How the heaven and hell, which are seemingly higher dimensions to this sensory world, how are they created? They are created with the breath, giving the negative emotions strength. Then we are directly in hell. When India loses the finals, the whole country goes into, or the majority of the country goes into a depression, that all the victories of up to that point, nobody switches on the TV for the next few days. The whole team needs to be supported by the Prime Minister of the country. He goes and gives them a positive motivation for the next oncoming series that is there. Now, what has happened? We all slip into a form of hell because the taking the loss as something negative, the breath, the thought, and the buddhi, which actually gives the value as right and wrong, good and bad, all these three create the hell, and we superimpose it on this world itself. In this world, some event, the sensory world does not have the division as good and bad. It does not have raga dvesha. It is these beings, these living beings, who have these higher dimensions within them. They superimpose that this square of land belongs to me, that is worth so many crores, that is what is going to save me. It is not set in the land at all. It is just a piece of earth where this my and I and mine is not there, and the security and insecurity are not there. But then, what is the Mohak Kadal Kadande, the Raga Dvesha, as Bhagavan says in Ulladinarpade, the good and the bad, which are the origin of Raga Dvesha. The Raga and Dvesha start with the division in the buddhi as good and bad. That is why in witnessing meditation, we stop looking at the world through the screens of good and bad. Then one is in witnessing consciousness. Here, the Raga Dvesha Kadal is crossed by holding the Nididhyasana, because in Ulladinarpadu Bhagavan says, Irattaigal, Muppudigal, Endrum Ondru Patri Irupavam, Avvondredendru. Yeah, the Ragadvesha is arising holding on to one. What is that ahankara holding on to which the division as good and bad arises? If you inquire, they simply get dismantled and they are dropped off. The raga and dvesha, they are dropped off when you hold. For whom is this attachment? For whom is this aversion? They get dropped off. Like holding that, one crosses the ocean of the raga and dvesha. They are called as arakkargal, rakshasas. And one goes to the self and enjoys the bliss of the self-luminous self. That is, yogi amaidi odu kudi ஆன்மாவின் இன்பத்து அமைந்து ஒளிர்வன் என்றே அறி. One, the yogi abides in the self-luminous self and enjoys and is having the akanda ananda of the Atma Swarupa. What is the allegory that is referred to? Is that here I am referring to A. Parthasarthi's there are 2-3 ways in which Ramayana is compared to this particular verse. I am taking up the approach of Parthasarathi. He is a great commentator on Anma bodham. He says that here, from what I read from the 2-3 ways, there are many ways in which the allegory is recounted. But we can look at it this way, that Rama is the Paramatma and Sita is the Jivatma. And even when she was in Ayodhya, before going to the forest, with all the palatial facilities, or even in the forest, so far as the Sita was with Rama, she had no trouble. She was having a very happy life, indicating that wherever you are, in whatever circumstances you are, if you are self-attentive, irrespective of what is happening in the Indriya Loka or the Mano Loka, if you are self-attentive, then the Sita, even though it is there, the Jiva is there, it does not undergo miseries. But what happens in the forest? It is said that for a moment, she loses the meditation on the self, meditation on Rama, and instead of Rama, who is present by her side, she desires, she has moha towards that deer, the golden deer, and she sends Rama away to go and get the deer. It is just one moment, but you can understand that refers to all those times when we go off towards sensory objects, leaving out the meditation on the Paramatman or God. That's why Sadhuvam Swamigal says, Kaanum ulagai ninaipadal kadavul ninaivu poividum. Because if you think of this seen world, then the adhara of the eye, you cannot either do dhyana or do atma vichara, is how he alerts. So Sita, she was happy when in the palace or even in the forest, so far as she was near Rama and realized that the Paramatma is the source of happiness. But the moment she goes for that golden deer, she loses him. But even when the Paramatma is lost sight of, Parthasarathi sir nicely says, there is a Lakshman Rekha. There are some rules. There are some ethics. There are some rules of behavior which will restrain us from going towards the world. Only if those are also flouted, you may not know, you may not have the anubhava of the Paramatma yet. But if you observe the rules of behavior, the inward turnedness, the speaking of truth, the acting of ethically, and the surrender to God, when we start practicing this, most of the miseries are averted. But then when you cross that Lakshman Rekha also, that your mind goes into the area where even these rules are being flouted, that is where you are carried away by the 10-headed Rakshasa. The 10-headed Rakshasa, Parthasarathi, he refers to as the Karmendriyas and the Jnanendriyas. You strongly feel that the Karmendriyas and the Jnanendriyas can get you real happiness. You are living the inside happiness, the real happiness, and you are being attracted by the Ravana of the 10 Indriyas, the Jnanendriyas and the Karmendriyas. And you suffer, like Sita suffering from the separation from Rama, but she is a wise person. How a wise person who is now exposed to suffering, how he or she will take suffering is that she will put herself in Ashokavana, where the pleasures of the palatial life in the Sri Lanka or whatever you call that, that is being offered by Ravana, she says no. And she keeps herself in the Ashokavana and constantly thinks of Rama. So that is what we have to do by the errors that we make, let us say, the jiva makes out of ignorance. It is undergoing suffering, let us say. Then from the legend or the Purana, we have to take that we have to be like Sita. Keep ourselves away from the frolickings that are going on in the various places that are there and keep meditating on God. Then what happens? Then from that side, from the unknown side to Sita, Rama is making all the efforts. The Paramatma is now crossing or making many steps towards the Jivatma. What are the steps that the Paramatma is taking? He first slays Vali. Vali is supposed to be the epitome of lust. Just enjoy at any cost the power. He is slayed and Sugriva is made as friend. Sugriva, the very name it indicates that all the good forces are being gathered. And the monkeys are referred to as thoughts. The thought energy is the monkey forces. The comparison being that both the monkeys and thoughts are astira and chanchala. Astira means jumping from place to place, and even when meditating on one thing, it is chanchala. It is moving, yes, no, no, no. Almost there. May not be. So, it is both, the thoughts are also astira, like the monkeys jumping from here to there. Even when holding something, they are chanchala, moving from yes, no, and various shades of that. So, what Rama is supposed to do, the Paramatma from that side, where the Jiva is not yet having, Jiva is only sitting and meditating, Rama, 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 like Mudaliar Party, Lakshmi the cow, Ramnath Brahmachari, they are only thinking of Ramana. And Ramana is doing all the work. Ramana is covering the Vijnanamaya Kosha, the Manomaya Kosha, the Pranamaya Kosha, and he meets the devotee in the Stula Sharira area. The devotee is merely doing seva in one sense. But the devotee is so wise that she knows that just serving food to Bhagavan is enough. She does that for 40 years and she turns out to be the wisest person around. Because the Vijnanamaya Kosha is also crossed by Rama for her, by Ramana for her. What does Rama do from this side? He arranges all the thoughts in order. Can the Jiva do that? Can the Jiva arrange the thoughts in order, all the monkey forces? Obviously not. So it is in the allegory, it is merely holding the Nididhyasana. Whatever the Nididhyasana verse and meditation is, it is holding that. But the Paramatman, the I, is setting right all the other koshas and coming to meet. How it is meeting? When the meditation gathers force, there is a Hanuman, the good mind, who comes from the Paramatma and meets Sita and assures, wait, I am the forerunner. See these good thoughts that are coming, these good satsangis that are around you. All these are indications that the Paramatma is walking towards you, is making all the moves. You keep doing what you have to. And Sita gets to meet Hanumanta, who is the messenger from the Paramatma. What is the messenger? All Bhagavan's teachings are playing in the records from morning till evening. You are listening to Sannidhi Murai, you are listening to Aksharamanamala, you are listening to Ulladunarpadu. These are the things that are going on, and only people who are discussing Bhagavan's teachings, his greatness, his life, these are the people who are there. That is the Hanumanta who has come, indicating that Ramana is on the way. He is going to consume you. He is going to kill. Where is Ravana now? Already Ravana is half killed because Sita is no more in any way affected by Ravana. She is meditating only on Rama, and Hanumanta is the indicator. What he does, he goes and burns all the bhoga areas in that Ravana's palaces, and that is the indication that what little attraction these could have had is removed by satsang. The people who call you for the weekend celebration, the people who call you for other frolicking, they will drop away. As the satsangis grow, they stop calling you. Hey, he's a boring fellow. He will keep talking only this nonsense. Why call him and suffer? Let us not call him. So all those are burnt by Hanumanta. Simple, Sita is only meditating on Rama, and Rama has arranged all this from within and has sent the messenger also. Then of course, he comes and slays and arranges for the union of the Paramatma and the Jivatma, where the story recounter says that the union takes place and a golden image of Sita is left with Rama for him to rule Ayodhya, and Sita goes back to the world, goes back to the place from where she came, but with total difference as the Jnani. She goes back to earth, the Bhuma Devi. That is the account given by this writer. There are very many ways in which the same story is recounted. But the idea is that all the blessings of the whole of Ramayana are automatically present in one who is doing Atma Vichara. What we have to take is that the whole of Ramayana, how Sita suffers from going apart, all the meditations she does, and the inner work that Rama does, Paramatma does, and crossing that ocean. Can the Jiva cross that ocean? It cannot cross. It can only hold Rama and all that burning, Endrum Ondru Patri, and it is this Purana that burns. See, the beauty of Atma Vicharam is also that it is only to learn that the Jiva cannot do anything. Bhagavan says, still the eye. Why does he say still the eye? Because the eye cannot do anything. Though, because it was feeling it was doing so many things, as Akka would say, when a child comes into the kitchen, the mother will tell, hey, keep quiet. But the child will want to do something, Akka will. So the mother will take a little bit of the Godi hittu, the wheat dough, and give it to its hand and give a small plate and something like a roller, that the child can also do something. All our sadhanas are like that when the Jiva Bhava is there. But the moment you start going, the chapatis are being made there for your dinner. The mother is making. You have to do this, you have to do your fair share, and the chapatis are there ready for dinner. And that is how the union takes place. The union of the Jiva totally understands. See, when all these don't exist, how can the Jiva, which is not existing, how could it have done anything to complete the union? When Bhagavan himself refers to the efforts of the Jiva, he says that Enkurai Iyatrinan Ere. What is the kurai? What is the limitation? What is the errors I have done? The sadhana is so limited, but you have to do it seriously, you have to do it sincerely, because that is the disciple's silence. The Guru's silence is always going on as the Maunaswarupa, and the disciple's silence is the best prayer. You stilling the ego is the best prayer, And the Guru's silence is coming as the Mauna, as the Rama, and it is going to burn the Ravana and completely absorb the Sita, who is the Jiva, and the Jiva now is said to abide in the self. Because the self alone is, what else can be there? Is there any other go? See, when the self alone is, what else can you do except abide there? There is nothing else. All the outward objects which you felt, all the koshas you were using, they are all non-existent because they are present only when the triad of seer, seeing, seen, knower, knowing, known is there. In the Akanda Atma Swarupa, they are not there. How can something which is not existing do a sadhana? How can something which is existing be missed? That which is existing is what you are. And in that Ananda, the Jnani is one, says the verse. Mohak kadal kadandu moolase kobam mudal. Aham arakkar arakkondru. All these Rakshasas are completely killed. Yogi அமைதியோடு கூடி ஆன்மாவின் இன்பத்து அமைந்து ஒளிர்வன் என்றே ஹரி. That is the verse where Adhyatma Ramayana is brought into one verse by Adi Shankara. We should understand that since in the Atma Swarupa there are no dimensions, there is no small, there is no great. Whenever somebody would say that sadhana is difficult, Bhagavan will not explain that it is easy. No, Atma Ucharam is easy. He will not explain like that. He will ask, for whom is this thought that it is difficult? That something is difficult appears to the knower and it is present in the knower, knowing, known. And that is one of the major hurdles we put to ourselves. The jiva, which is actually consciousness, traps itself with this world called it is difficult. And it does not enter the sadhana at all. For whom is it possible? Even the great ones have not been able to do. How can I? So we explain the word difficult, whereas Bhagavan would always ask, for whom is this thought that something is difficult? For me, who am I? Hold the self. There, the jiva, which is the seer and is always present only in relation to seeing, is merged in the akanda akara vritti of Atma Swarupa, which is beyond Maya. See, now let us briefly look at the journey to understand how the jiva Atma Aikyam or the Atma Brahma Aikyam, how it is realized is that we saw that the Annamaya Kosha and the Annamaya Loka or the Indriya Loka, sensory world, it is substratically supported by Pranamaya Loka. You can actually experiment and see that. You can see that even you are observing the breath, the eyes, ears, nose and the karmendriyas are all quietened. And when they are not functioning, when they are not in use also, the prana is present. So you can easily infer the prana is present before, during and after the senses and the sensory world. Similar is the relationship with each of the inner worlds. The Manomaya is the Adhara for the prana. And the Vijnanamaya, we saw where the Ahankara, the Buddhi and the Jnanendriyas are there. That is substrated to Annamaya, Pranamaya and Manomaya. That is the Adhara for the meditation. Even the Samadhi Sthiti, the Savikalpa Samadhi is recommended in Drigdrishya Vivekam. You will find that there are Samadhis which you can have while seeing the world. There are Samadhis which you can have while hearing to sounds. How this is in the outermost of the koshas. But then where are they residing? If you are not going with intent to get something, then they are merely experiencing jnana. Then you can quieten it and take it to the Vijnanamaya kosha. And when the hearing and seeing are done without judgment means without the ragadvesha, without the like and dislike, without the good and bad. The ragadvesha arakkar is not there. When you are listening without judgment or seeing without judgment, then the indriyas, the jnanendriyas are now taken to the Vijnanamaya kosha. And when in the Vijnanamaya kosha, the judgment is completely in abeyance, the ahankara, which is also there, is indirectly quietened, is indirectly stilled. That is how in mindfulness meditation also, the indirectly the enlightenment is got, because the ahankara becomes quietened when in the Vijnanamaya kosha, the jnanendriyas are there, but used without the good and the bad, without raga and dvesha. There the indirect stilling of the ego is there, and with anubhava of that, this purana in the Vijnanamaya kosha again and again, the ego can indirectly be erased. Whereas in Atma Vicharam, the ego is directly being taken to the source. That there is no indirect quietening by using the jnanendriyas, by using the seeing or using the sight without judgment. It's not there. We have to ask, for whom is this thought? There, the I is taken directly to the source of everything, because it is waiting at the doors of the Anandamaya kosha, from where the vasanas mature into thoughts, and the ajnana is destroyed, or the karana sharira is destroyed by constant looking at the source of the I. And when the karana sharira is destroyed, though the stula sharira and the sukshma sharira are appearing, there is no asami there. Though they are appearing in this world, Bhagavan would say that though the jnani's body is there, what is coming out of it is like Ashariri, the Ishara Vani itself is coming. Because there is no asami, there is no individual, the ahankara having been completely demolished. The jnani's body is alone there. There is no jnani. There is only jnanam. There is sukshma sharira appears, it seems to take the right thoughts. But then there is nobody to claim, I thought well. So that is how the next few verses are going to explain to us how the jnani functions in this world, and how the jivan mukti is got, and how videha mukti is got. Those are the three verses that are going to follow. 51, 52, 53 are verses on the way in which the jnani functions in the world. Though he appears to be with upadhis, that is verse 51. Though he appears to be with upadhis because of non-attachment, because of erasing of the asami, that person is not doing anything. So, in the first few verses, how everything was observed and taken to the self, and that self is experienced. Now, the self is realized as Bhagavan realizes in his enlightenment experience. He experiences this purana by stilling the body, stilling the breath, stilling the mind. The akhandakara vritti is experienced. Am I dead? He asks. When the body is not there, the breath is not there, thoughts are not there. Am I not there? I am there. Arunachala Shiva has arisen as the I and answered. Soham spurtitaya Arunachala Shiva. Purno vibhati swayam. And Bhagavan says that Purno vibhati swayam is going on as fundamental Shruti note, even when the body is speaking, even when the upadhis are being in use. That is Sahajasthiti. That the Atma Swarupa has become so natural that though no asami is there, even when the body is speaking, the asami is not experienced. What is experienced is the spurana. That is how the next few verses are there. That 51 is about how the jnani experiencing the Shruti note, experiencing the Akhandakara vritti, experiencing that state which is beyond Ajnana, he can participate in what he will participate for. Will he participate for any of the transitory pleasures of the world? No. That is what is there in that verse, that the transitory pleasures of the world are removed and the ever-present happiness of the self is experienced, and the upadhis may then be used, but it does not bind the jnani. That is one verse. Then finally, how the videha mukti is got when the upadhis drop off, how when water mixes in water, milk with milk, and space with space, like that the jnani mixes with the akandakara vritti. It is said Bhagavan doesn't say that that much waiting is required. Says that for those who are doing Atma Vichara, he says for some in one place, the Videha Mukti is also given, even though the body is appearing for the others. That secret is not so secret, because Bhagavan doesn't teach what will happen at the death of the body. He doesn't teach whether you are a rich person or whether you are a poor person, whether you are, that means how you are existing also, he doesn't teach. He always asks, are you born? What does he ask? He always asks, for whom is this thought? See, if you are born, only if you are born, then how do you exist? And how you are going to die, those thoughts will come. If you are not born and you are one with the unborn self, where is the question of how, with what supports you will exist? So in Bhagavan's teachings, the Videha Mukti is not a difficult thing. It is going to be a natural affair, because in the unborn self, obviously Dehamayam is not there. So that is Bhagavan's teachings, how he takes us through this Arnavam, the Moharnavam, by asking, see if you are born now. See if you are born and you are a jiva. You are not a jiva. You cannot be apart from the infinite. You are one with the infinite. And that's how Lakshman Sharma says in verse number 11 of Ulladanarpada Anubandham. That is, what is the real, who is celebrating the real birthday? Pirandan Evan Tan Brahma Mulatte. The one who is born in the Brahma Moolam or the self alone is said to be really born. So Bhagavan doesn't take us to real existence or real death. He takes us to real birth. Real birth is beyond birth and death, and it does not have all these enquiries into what kind of possessions you have. Some people will say even a camel can be put through the eye of a needle, but a rich man cannot reach realization, they will say. But all that is not there in Bhagavan. Einstein will say that all you have to find out before you are 28, because from there you will not have energy. And when somebody asks Bhagavan, is it true that after some age of the body, we become ineligible to do Atma Vicharam? Bhagavan says, how does it count? Do you exist or not? If you are existing, always the source must be there. So the age is of no relevance. This kind of wonderful gift has come to us, where none of the limitations that can be seen by other margas is present to Bhagavan. He makes us cross the ocean by saying ocean doesn't exist. That ocean of Moharnavam does not exist. Only the Atma Swarupa is there. See, if you are born out of the Atma Swarupam, you are the Ganges. So there is no thirst for you, says Bhagavan. So let's sit in Atma Vicharam for the next 3-4 minutes at least. Then we can listen to Akka. Now, Ujjwalji, you will set the time till 8 o'clock. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana. Shining is the self in all beings. This shining as the self in all beings, this is what is the meaning of the name Ramana. That is also the meaning of the name Rama. Because when Rama was named, it was sage Vashishta, the Kula Guru. He was asked what to name him. And he said that in which all beings revel, that self, in which all beings revel, that is he. Therefore, let him be called Rama, that in which everything revels. And the word Ramana also means that in which everything revels. That is the self. So today we have been taken through the entire Ramayana by Nandakumar ji through this verse, and also to the essence of Ramayana. Essence of Ramayana, wherein the whole story has been given with its inner meaning as a journey back to the self. Here we find that in Bhagavan, that same Vanaras who were there with Rama were also there around Bhagavan. And what did Bhagavan do? How did Bhagavan make them cross or prepare them as an army? It is said that Bhagavan would even just simply sit and all the monkeys would sit around him. In Ramayana, Rama had to tell the monkeys, let us go and conquer the kingdom of Ravana. There was action to be done. And here Bhagavan says, he doesn't even say, he simply is, and all the monkeys are sitting around him in absolute silence. That all the chanchalata, the movement, the astira of the monkeys has been countered by the Arul Astiram, which Bhagavan talks about in Aksharamana Malai. He says, Arul Astiram Vittu. The mind is also Astiram. The grace is also Astiram. The mind's Astiram is just, it is movement. It is running. Unna ஏமாற்றி ஓடாது. It is running here and there. And the Supreme One, the Self, lets go of the arrow of grace. And in Tamil, and even in Sanskrit, the arrow is called Astra. In Tamil, it is called Astiram. Astiram, that which is not still, because the arrow moves. And very beautifully it was brought out to us that it is the grace which is acting. It is the grace which is acting. Sri Ramanacentre Tirtha, talking about Kantam irumbu pol kavarndenai vidamal, he would say the iron filings appear to move towards the magnet. The magnet is still and the iron filings are moving. But is there anything that the iron filings are actually doing? They are being pulled by the inner force. So this is the entire action is by Rama that was brought out to us. The action is by grace. It is grace that allows us to get back to the self. And what is it that we have to do? It is to simply remain without getting lured by the attractions of Ravana, the attractions which he is offering. And then the Setu is built. This Setu, Bhagavan has given us this beautiful Setu where in a way the Jiva itself is a Setu. Sita herself is a Setu. In Bhagavan's way, because in Atma Vichara, Bhagavan says, the I thought that is turned outward where it gets drawn to the body, it gets drawn to the Maya Mriga, then it becomes externalized. But if it turns within, it has got the scent of consciousness. It has got the link with consciousness. It itself is a link with consciousness because it rises from consciousness. When this I turns inward after negating or refusing to pay attention to thoughts, by questioning each and every thought, by questioning the validity of each and every thought, then what happens is that this itself is revealed to us as the Aham Spurana, because it is the bridge to consciousness. It is the first to rise, and it's rising, it is Adishaya Shakti. It is an Adishaya Shakti. Sita is that Adishaya Shakti. It is the Aham Spurana. However, when that goes, Bhagavan says in Ramana Gita, this consciousness, it moves to the Sahasrara, from there to the whole body, and when one becomes conscious of the whole body, samsari manujo bhavet, says Bhagavan in Ramana Gita. Because one becomes conscious of the whole body, one starts thinking that I am the body. And just because one is conscious of the body, one need not be paying attention to it. One can still pay attention to the source. That is what Bhagavan's life, every moment of Bhagavan's life shows us, that the actions they go on, everything is happening, but there is no person within, no individuality within. Bhagavan has given the example of the transistor, wherein there is nobody inside who is speaking. If you open the transistor, will you find a person there who is speaking? No, you will not. Similarly, the Jnani, he says, if you look within the Jnani, there is no person there, but he is speaking. There is the voice, there is the movement, there are the actions which are performed. This is inexplicable. We don't need to explain it because the Jnani, for him, there is no explanation needed. And to the extent that this is explained to us, it is only to understand that it is not any conversion of the ego. It is not a sublimation of the ego. It is not something which the ego is going to attain, but it is an understanding or a revelation where the ego will completely cease to be. Where the body identity, which is only the ego, the identity will completely cease to be. Ravana will completely cease to be. And the Setu, which is built, already built within us, ever shining within us, that Setu is available for us. Says Bhagavan, to turn back, when we ask ourselves, who am I? We are walking back towards the Atma Rama. We are walking back towards the self through that bridge which is ever available to us, ever available to us. So that when even the monkeys were sitting with Bhagavan, if any of the monkeys would move, Bhagavan would say, Yenda Rajyam Kolla Pordu. Which kingdom are you going to lose that you have to move? There is nothing that you have to win. Everything is already won. Everything is already done. Bhagavan has said to Mother Agama that everything is already destined. When everything is already done, when everything is already accomplished, what is it that we have to do? Just simply enjoy the self. Just simply enjoy the self. So much of freedom is given to all of us, because when Rama does all the work, we don't have to do anything. When Bhagavan does all the work, and that is why the beautiful examples of Kau Lakshmi and Mudaliar Party and other devotees were given to us today by Nandakumar ji, to say that we don't have to do anything. But Bhagavan says to Devraj Mudaliar, you have to work, you have to do the sadhana. Why? Because if there is a thought that I am so and so, so long as there is a thought that I am so and so, till then we have to make the effort to question for whom is this thought? Who am I? And another very important point which was brought out today was that we should not be thinking about the failure or of success, but ask ourselves, for whom are these thoughts? Sometimes, very often in a sadhaka's life, the thought of failure, that's a great obstruction, says Bhagavan, that comes. The thought of failure comes. And even in the Ramayana, at that point when just before Anjaneya came to Sita Devi, she was in the point of desperation. She was about to even end her life. She thought, no, this will not work. Rama is not coming. And at that point, Anjaneya, the Guru comes and tells us, Rama is coming. Rama is always there. There is hope. There is hope. Bhagavan says to Manavasi Ramaswamy Iyer, who asks him, is there hope for me also? Yes, there is hope. There is hope, says Bhagavan. And while saying that, he also says, don't think about hope or failure. Better is to ask, for whom are these thoughts? Because to hope also is to postpone the experience. To think of failure is, of course, to postpone the experience. But the experience is here and now. Why do both? If you ask for whom, automatically the attention will turn back to its source, to the self, which is waiting in its entirety of grace to reveal itself. That is what the self is revealing itself from moment to moment. And the turning back is also grace, but because we feel that we are making some effort, therefore we have to do it as effort until we realize that there is no one even to make any effort. There was never anyone to make an effort. There was never anything apart from the self. Until that is realized, that effort has to continue, that effort with the remembrance that it is always grace, that it is always that Rama is coming, Bhagavan is there, He is holding us, He is rising up every moment to reveal Himself, or He is coming down as a shower of grace to quell all the pain, all the sorrow, which is of course thought. Thought is sorrow. So when thought rises, Bhagavan pours down His grace. If you call it Shakti Nipata, or it is the rise up of the revelation of the self from within as Atma Rama. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri.
Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana to all.